Hi everyone. So this is going to be video number 2 of my top 5 lessons learned over the last decade. And this one is a little emotional for me. To be honest, this is the third take. So I'm going to try not to get emotional because it's a very valuable lesson for me. And it's taken me a long road to get here. And it's the lesson of learning to love myself. You know, we all go through life and we have hardships. For me, my childhood, and I know I bang this around a lot for you guys, but my childhood is a lot about who I am and who I'm not. And being raised in an abusive home where you are made to feel like you're worthless or you have no worth really ingrains into your brain. And it wasn't until, and it really carries over to everything in your life. I was in a 25-year marriage that wasn't very good. The first 10 years, I'll say, was good. And then after that, it didn't. It took a turn. And I wasn't a very nice person. You know, I used to look back and blame a lot of it on him, but we both played our parts. And I wasn't very nice because I wasn't very happy. And it didn't really have anything to do with him. It had to do with me not being myself, because when you're not yourself, you become miserable and people around you become miserable. And those things carry over and carry over. You know, one of my favorite quotes is by Iyanla Vanzant, and she says, you know, your wounds will bleed into everything into your life until you heal them and you let them go. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I started to heal a lot of pain around not feeling my own self-worth. And it's something I struggled with for years. I've had to go to therapy over it. You know, I didn't know until this past year that I had a lot of symptoms from PTSD. And not only was it from my childhood, but something else that had happened to me this year really sparked that PTSD. And I'd had to get therapy for it. But it's how, you know, that was in my last video, you know, asking for help when you need it. You've got to ask for help when you need it. And it's helped me to understand, first of all, that a lot of things that happened in my life were not my fault. And I carried people's baggage around like a backpack, you know, just instead of letting them own their own things. You know, we forget that when things happen to us, they're not necessarily our stuff to own. It gets somebody else's. You got to let them own it and let them carry it and forgive them for it and set it free. And then forgive yourself and set yourself free. Forgiveness is an ongoing thing. It's not just a one-time I forgive you and it's done. No, things will show up in your life consistently that you have to be consistent about forgiving. And not just other people, but yourself. Because when we hold on to those things, it is like wearing a backpack that just weighs you down. And in this last year, I finally took off that backpack and let people own their own stuff. And sometimes when you start doing that, you start discovering who you are. And discovering who you are does not come overnight. It is a layer thing. It is one layer at a time that peels away mostly who you are not. And then you start to see who you are. And find value in that. I've had to find value in that. Even though I have been things that other people wanted me to be, We all have this thing where society says you should look this way, you should act this way, you should do these things, or you're not accepted. And the truth is, if those things are not who you are, then you have to accept who you are. You are the only person and the foremost person who needs to accept who you are, love who you are, and value who you are. Because it has been my experience that if you don't love who you are, then there is no way that you can love another person, because you don't know how. If you don't love yourself, you do not know how to love another person. And so find value in loving yourself first. And I kind of covered that in the last video. Finding empowerment is finding value in yourself and saying, okay, how can I feel better? Do I need help with this? And if you do, ask for help. And so this has been an ongoing lesson for me, and layers have been peeled away, and the more that I reveal who I am, the more that I notice that that makes people uncomfortable. And mostly because you are reflecting back to them that they need to do the same thing, that they need to accept who they are, and they need to let other people own their own crap. Okay? And so I've also had to learn to be okay with that, because when you don't love who you are, you tend to be a people pleaser, and you tend to look for validation outside of yourself. And the moment you love yourself and you accept yourself 100% for who you are, then you stop looking for validation in other people, and you just start doing the things that bring you joy and the things that you love. And it feels wonderful. And it starts to feel like a relief, like that backpack has been taken off. And so that has been my number 2 lesson, mostly learned in this year. Well, over the last 5 years, I would say. It has really accumulated each year. A new layer has been peeled. And I really just wanted to share that. My number 1 lesson and my number 2 lesson were the most valuable. And I hate it when I just say, I'm sorry. But anyways, so my number 2 lesson of my top 5 is learning to love myself and accept myself for who I am and do the things that bring me joy. And so thank you for letting me share. And I hope that this helps someone else who has suffered from abuse of any kind. And just know that you are loved, you are loved, and you are lovable. And I love you. So, thank you. Bye, everybody.